The International Court of Justice, in session at the Peace Palace in the Hague Leo Cendrowicz 4 days Wednesday, November 22, 2017. There are whisperings in the corridors of global power that Britain passed a turning point on Monday when it lost its seat at the International Court of Justice (ICJ). As Brexit beckons, this moment could be a harbinger of more diplomatic defeats. The ICJ decision means for the first time since it began in 1946, Britain will lose its place among the 15 judges on the bench at the UN's main legal body. Sir Christopher Greenwood had hoped to be re-elected for a second 9-year term, but the UK government withdrew his candidacy after 6 rounds of votes. Based in The Hague, at the grandiose Peace Palace, the ICJ's job is to settle disputes between states. The UK itself played a key role in its founding in 1943. Sir William Malkin hosted a committee of legal experts from around the world that established the principles of what would become the ICJ, the world's highest court. Losing this court seat is a symbol of Britain's reduced status on the world stage, according to Jeremy Shapiro, a research director at the European Council on Foreign Relations. Perception is everything, he says. It is safe to assume that Brexit represents a loss of standing amongst Britain's peers. People in the US and the rest of Europe feel that the UK is not as interested and engaged as it was. UK lost EU power amplifier. Had Britain not been on the way out of the EU, it could have counted on the other 27 members to back its candidate, according to Francis Burwell, a fellow at the Atlantic Council think tank. Some EU countries will think that the British are already halfway out, so they don't need to support them in these diplomatic efforts, she says, adding that by leaving the EU, Britain has squandered a unique power amplifier. This incident is a foretaste of things to come. British influence is not going off a cliff, but it will gradually fade as people realize how self-absorbed it is. It may seem premature to suggest a single incident in one obscure, international body heralds a new era, but this was a vote that the UK was expected to win easily. Officials said that when the Indian government began an aggressive lobbying campaign for its candidate, Britain could not respond with similar vigor. Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson and his ministers attempted to win support in the UN General Assembly, but appeared stymied. Other countries referred to the fading powers of the British brand. British diplomats who have traditionally been revered as Rolls-Royce negotiators in global arenas were seen to have lost the power to twist arms and call in favors. As much of Britain's diplomatic energy is now being redirected into Brexit, other foreign policy priorities will suffer, according to Charles Kupchan, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington. For the foreseeable future, the UK's political establishment will be focused on negotiating Brexit and its aftermath. There will be little time and energy left over to focus on other issues, he says. The international community is already devaluing Britain's international sway. Outside observers see a country that will be tied up in political knots for the foreseeable future as it engages in a sad act of self-harm and self-isolation. UK's NATO post at risk and Brexit's wake. Top jobs under threat. Britain could also lose another top job when it comes up for renewal soon, that of the Deputy Supreme Allied Commander, Europe, one of the most important NATO military positions. The UK has held this post almost continuously since 1951, with Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery inset. If Britain does lose the job, it will be another sign of its Brexit drive and loss of global clout. France is reportedly hoping to take Britain's senior position in NATO, amid claims the UK's role in the alliance could be under threat after Brexit. There is already some discussion of the possibility that the assignment of the position might have to be transferred to a NATO member that is a member of the EU. Professor Malcolm Chalmers, the Royal United Services Institute's Deputy Director General, wrote in a briefing on post-Brexit foreign and security policy. In news http://cnews.co.uk